Be live. So it's like if you want to go ahead and start, and if anyone wants to talk, I can just you can request to speak. I'm not exactly sure how, but you can. Also, there is a chat room, so you can also type in there.
Somewhere around the bottom for the request to speak. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh wait, can I go on speaker? I don't know. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm really drunk right now. I haven't seen the show, but the opening's really good.
Fair. The opening is good. I would agree.
Really good opening. Thanks for hearing me out.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my first thing was if anybody wanted to join in, talk about like first of all, what rating did you give the show? Spoilers, I gave it an 8. Now I'm generous with my ratings. I don't give everything a 10, but I will say that like kind of just like anime in general. So like 7 is usually like the minimum that I'll give something unless it's absolutely unwatchable.
Honestly,
Mine's a little bit skewed.
I think 8 is fine. I actually think it was really good. I was really pleasantly surprised. I'm really surprised that it's not talked about more. And so I was trying to figure out. I was like, okay, why is this not like it's talked about in passing? Like people will recommend it, but there's not like people who like really hype it up. So I'm like, okay, why? Why does no one like super hype this up?
I mean, looking on my anime list, there are 2,430 people who have favorited it. The average score that people give it is a 7.23.
Right. So it's pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean, based on the people that like it tend to think that it's at least pretty good.
I
I was looking on YouTube to try and find videos about it, and it was like surprisingly slim. Like I mean, at least near the top of the results, like official trailers, fight sequences, not many discussions. I'm seeing a couple in shorts, but again, like the most popular short that I'm seeing right here, at least the one at the top, is just top gun moments in in the show. It's not like characters or there's one recommendation. It's so strange because to me it's such a unique concept. Like the idea, it's not quite an isekai, but it's not quite a reverse isekai. Like
so
it's like an ARG kind of.
it's yeah. It's like a world within a world, which does happen semi frequently in anime. I would say it's like there's a separate society. It's like kind of like Harry Potter, for example. It's like there's the regular world and then there's the wizarding world, but they kind of coincide, which is kind of what's going on here. It's like there's the game and then there's not the game. So it's like two completely different worlds chilling. So my hypothesis of why it's not like talked about a ton is if you look, one, the studio that made it has made only 10 anime, and I have not really. The only thing else that I've heard of is they made Eminence in Shadow. So like it's a good studio. The animation was really good. They've made a couple other things, but nothing that like really sticks out to me. It's just this and Eminence in Shadow are the two things that they've made. And the release started in January of 2020 and ended March of 2020. And I think we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So I think March, April, when a lot of people start watching shows that are fully complete, they had a lot of time, so they started jumping into other shows because it was like anime recommendation heaven, whereas like everyone was recommending everything because everyone had time to watch everything.
Yeah,
So
I feel like a lot of the newer fans that were coming in around 2020, they were getting kind of funneled to the big three, getting funneled to Dragon Ball,
Attack on Titan, Jujutsu
yeah, Death
Kaisen,
Note, like the big ones that everybody talks about.
right?
Which is funny because, like, if you think about it now, like the vast majority of anime fans are probably exclusively watching and reading the most popular shonen, and I still run into people who have this sense of like elitism
Yeah,
that like they watch like unknown stuff. But the like I had a guy like kind of being a little bit antagonizing in my comments the other day, and it's funny how the view of like what is and isn't mainstream has shifted now because his justification for him being like a real anime fan is that he knew about Gundam. That was like that is one of the largest franchises in the world.
Oh
And
gosh.
he was like, yeah, like there's, I mean, Witch from Mercury is still coming out. You know, like we just, you know, and it's killing it, and it's like it's an incredible show, and people are talking about it, and he's just like, I can name different Gundam models, so I'm a real fan. All you know about is, you know, Talk no Jutsu and Gomu Gomu no, and you know, it's like, it's funny because it's like back in the day, in order to be like that guy, you had to know about some like weird stuff. And now it's like even mainstream stuff is seen as it's like we're so hyper focused on like the mainstreamest of the mainstream that even being into stuff that would normally be considered like surface level, people are like, no, I'm deep in this.
Yeah, so like during one of my meetings at work, so I tend to fall asleep in meetings. Don't tell my boss because I get really bored. So I made like a list of ideas for like videos for you to make, and one of them like fits in perfectly what you're saying, that being talked about does not equal popularity. Like Code Geass is so incredibly popular. It's so popular. Like it's so many people have seen it, but it's not talked about because it aired 15, 20 years ago. Like it's not going to be talked about because the narrative's been, people watch it, talk about when they watch it, and then they move on. It's not like
I kind of did that.
Yeah.
I made videos on it when I was watching it, like late last year or early this year, whenever it was. But yeah, it's like I think the biggest issue with it is and it's not necessarily an issue, right? Like as long as people are watching anime, I'm happy,
right.
and I'll talk about the mainstream stuff with them. But not that I'm like this, you know, I'm not watching like obscure VHSs from the '80s or anything. But the issue is like as a content creator, if there's a show like that, like Darwin's Game, for example, or like Code Geass that I want to talk about, there's no audience. There may be an audience of people out there that want to see it, but there's no, like the algorithm isn't exactly connecting the people who want to talk about it together because it's you know, if it knows that you like anime, it's not sending you towards Code Geass conversations. It's not sending you towards Darwin Game conversations. You know, it's
because they don't
barely
exist.
sending you towards stuff like Trigun conversations. Even though Trigun Stampede is out, you know, it's like even though that, you know, that came out and it's I would say relatively popular. Let me see what its stats are, at least on Mao.
So what I've noticed is, so I do talk about some series that I absolutely love that aren't like Dorara, for example. There's no like huge Dorara community just like chilling on TikTok or anything, right? But if I make a video, somehow it gets to the people who love the series and like
Dude, I
are like,
wish I had
wow.
that experience.
So it's like, whoa, okay. People come out of the woodwork and I was like, wow. Like I made like Dead Mount Death Play is written by the same person who wrote Dorara. So I just made a video about it. It has like almost 200,000 views because it found the people that are interested in like Bakano and Dorara. And like, oh, I watched those. Same creator? All right, I'm definitely going to check this out.
Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to check it on Mao. Yeah, I mean Trigun is like way higher up in terms of popularity. Trigun Stampede is like way higher up in terms of popularity than Darwin's Game. And that honestly, you know, like to continue the kind of how things immediately become niche. Like Trigun Stampede just came out. It shot up to like 800 something in
right.
in the ranking. like that it's interesting because when I make content about that, I have to tie something else into it. Like where I made that video about like the caliber that Vash is using in his revolver. A lot of the comments were like people like I'd say about like 50% were people coming for the Trigun content, and about 50% were people that I feel like were coming in from like the gun community that wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not even exclusively getting Trigun fans, you know what I mean, viewing that video. It's people who are like, oh yeah, let's talk ballistics, you know? And I'm like, well, I kind of wanted to talk Trigun, you know?
Yeah.
But then like even then, you know, I'm struggling to get to those audiences, and then it's like with something like Darwin's game, like this is the perfect way to actually talk about it because we're letting people know, hey, we're all going to watch this together and we're going to talk about it. But that's a couple thousand ranks behind. Like nobody's scrolling that far on my enemy list because it's like unless you're searching it up, you're not going to find it. You know what I mean? You're not scrolling through however many pages of stuff to get to it.
Right.
It's on Netflix though, isn't it?
Crunchyroll. That's where I watched it personally. But like, so some of the most popular anime aren't talked about. Second most popular on my anime list, with almost 3.7 million people. I have it on there. My anime list. Death Note, not talked about like ever. Sword Art Online, not talked about. 3 million people. Fifth most popular anime on my anime list. Not really talked about. Tokyo Ghoul's number 9. Steins Gate's 13. No Game, No Life is 16.
I think when it comes to Death Note, in my experience, it's been people reference it more than they actually like do deep dives.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because like Death Note's been analyzed a million ways, and so people don't think they can really add anything new to the conversation. But like you'll see people like make a video and they'll be holding a Death Note, or they'll reference like Light eating the potato chip. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, that is weird with how high up that is in terms of popularity that we're just not seeing.
It's only 31,000 members less than Attack on Titan Season 1. Only 31,000 members. And is ranked higher. Just want to...
Almost 3.7 million.
Yeah. Like as I scroll down the top chunk, Noragami 27, Angel Beats 2 million people, 28 never talked about. Kami Ga Kill, Erased, Mira Nikki, Assassination Classroom, second season of Sword Art Online. Like this stuff just Blue Exorcist is the 39th most popular anime on my anime list. Blue Exorcist.
I don't think I've ever seen someone talk about Blue Exorcist.
No one has ever talked about that. It doesn't exist. But then people will say that these shows aren't popular, and it blows my mind the cognitive dissonance between what you're saying with the reality, the researchable, provable reality that a ton of people have watched these shows. Just, I think a lot of new watchers and just a lot of people in general have this mindset that the only shows that matter are the ones that are talked about. Those are the only ones that are popular. So, One Piece, Naruto.
I think it's because a lot of people, they don't want to feel like they're wasting their time. Because like I got a comment that really stuck with me where I was talking about like expanding your horizons when it comes to anime.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, I mean, it was a selfish video because I made it so people would talk to me about things other than One Piece. But as part of it, I recommended like maybe check out some Slice of Life, and I brought up that my wife and I have been watching Tonikawa, and this person was like, "Yeah, I can't watch Slice of Life. I feel like I'm wasting my time when I watch it," and like it kind of stuck with me for a while. And I asked him, I was like, "What do you mean? It feels like a waste of time?" And he never answered. But the way that my mind went with it is, well, you can't really power scale Tonikawa. You know, you're not seeing edits of Tonikawa. You know, you're not going to get in debates about Tonikawa. You know what I mean? And it's like that's really what the discussions are, right? Like even when a new shonen comes out that's like really really popular, if you know, it's got to have power scaling conversations. That's like what keeps things alive nowadays. Like because nobody's doing deep dives into the story. Like, and I mean, I can't say nobody. I like a couple of my mutuals are like, doing deep dives into One Piece, mythology and how it ties into the real world and things like that. But for the most part, those are like passion project videos. Those are not, I know these are going to succeed videos.
Yeah. Well, to his point, I have a hard time watching slice of life anime myself. I just have a hard time getting invested. Because I'm personally used to there being a lot of stakes involved, be it an adventure, something. And the stakes to me in a lot of slice of life anime is just lower. I do like some, and if it's like slice of life paired with sports, that's fine. If it's slice of life paired with something else, okay, I can live with that. But just like cute girls doing cute stuff, I have a really hard time getting invested in that. So that might be where that guy's coming from, but it also could be so on Twitter I'm not a nice person to people sometimes because people on Twitter are insane. So I'll say stuff like, okay, if your top 10 are all battle shonen, watch something else. Like anime has so much to offer. Yeah. So much.
At the bare minimum, I would recommend move past. I mean, here's the thing though. There's a certain part of the community that I don't want to move past shonen yet. There's a certain group in the anime community, and I know you've dealt with them too, that I don't want them really talking about like more mature series, like moving into seinen. And I for sure don't want them going into shoujo, because then they're just gonna it's not really their demographic, and they're gonna act like all shoujo is bad. It's already got a bad enough rep, and it's already mistreated by the industry enough. But like when you see when people talk about when you get the teenagers talking about Berserk, it's never a healthy conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's maybe move past battle shonen. Like maybe go into psychological stuff, maybe go into horror, maybe go into mystery.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with enjoying what you like, but I made a video where a lot of anime fans aren't fans of anime. Like it's, they only watch a good section will only watch battle shonen, and just that's such a small minuscule part of anime that saying you're a fan of anime as a medium, as a art form is kind of misrepresenting your feelings towards anime. I would say you like battle shonen, that's fine, like what you like, but I think a lot of people are very hesitant to dabble in things that they feel like aren't in their normal wheelhouse. And there's no harm to watch 3 episodes of a Darwin's Game. There's no problem watching 3 episodes of a show like My Home Hero or something like that, with some more psychological, more mystery, a little different than buff man punch other buff man in face go ow, win.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that battle shonen is so popular, right?
Right.
They've pretty much nailed the young male demographic. They know what's gonna if you're a young dude, and we were both young dudes that grew up watching shonen,
Right.
It appeals to you. You're like, I want to be strong like them, or you kind of if you don't feel strong, which I think is a big part of the aggressive younger power scalers. If you don't feel strong, you can be strong vicariously through these characters.
Yeah.
And that I feel that in some debates that people have.
Yes.
That it's I mean, I always talk down about it, and I'm a little bit snarky, and I call it the my dad can beat up your dad arguments. But I feel like that is why a lot of people are drawn specifically to that.
It's the same parallel.
But there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's just the fact that you're right, that's not what anime is. It may be what anime's marketed as, but there's anime that'll make you think. There's anime that will question the way that you view other people around you. You know what I mean? Even within battle shonen, you get that, and it's missed by a lot of people. Look at Bon Clay in One Piece. How many people who are diehard, conservative, people that are Bon Clay's the GOAT. You know what I mean? It's gonna get you thinking. But there's a lot of anime that are made specifically for that. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't get talked about because it's not necessarily packaged as, this is going to get your testosterone pumping. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I think there's an unhealthy narrative that power scaling is quote unquote ruining anime. Because
I would never go that far.
I like power scaling. I find it interesting, but there was a time where it felt like power scaling was all consuming. And I think a lot of those people, their content slowly started to get less popular. And because it's the same people fighting the same people, it's the same narrative over and over and over and over and over again. And some of the larger people who were perpetuating those conversations have moved on to a different grift, let's say.
Yeah.
So I think it's gone back to a pretty healthy place. I think a lot of there's some smaller accounts that I see pop up here and there saying some like really inflammatory, just insane stuff for attention. But I think a lot of the bigger people it's a little more, hey, I'm going to power scale this character. This is what I think they can do. I find it interesting, but there's a big chunk that's like, no, I can't handle power scaling. Never.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen that, and Mustache Panda made a video earlier today, that like the stuff that I find interesting about power scaling is like him talking about Edo Tensei versus Lawless Devil Fruit, and the fact that like someone with Edo Tensei is not going to regenerate if he cuts them apart, because if you look at like the evidence throughout the series, their body is going to consider itself still in one piece. So
right.
He can do whatever he wants to the pieces of their body, and they're just going to have to deal with it. Like, that kind of stuff is interesting. And he didn't even come to a conclusion of like, oh, Law beats every Edo Tensei reincarnation there is. Like, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just a discussion of like, let's take this power and see how they interact. And that is the essence of like what power scaling used to be. Like, of course, when we were talking Dragon Ball, it was who's stronger.
Right.
But if we were talking about other stuff, we would get in, I mean, at least, my friend group, we would get into the conversations of like, okay, well, what if this person went up against this person? How do their fighting styles match up? And it was a very like, it would get heated because we were young guys, but it was a lot more of like, all right, let's put our minds to this. Let's strategize and like basically write a narrative of like, how is this fight going to go? If this guy does this, what does this guy do? And it was just fun, you know what I mean? Nobody won, nobody lost. It was just fun. And that's why I like specifically Mustache Panda's content, because a lot of the times that's what he does. He just breaks down like, this is what this power does, this is what it can be used for, this is what it can't be used for, and I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I always jokingly say like, I only like one power scaler, and it's him.
I mean, that may or may not be a joke.
Well, I mean, full transparency, I can't think of any right now. But I know that there are other power scalers that like I have watched their content and I enjoy it. Divine is one. I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok, but he does like, his are just pure like, how high can I get this person? Right?
Yeah.
But he does it like it's never like it's never toxic. He just takes requests. He's like, how high can I scale this person? And it's just fun. Because like, yeah, it's all made up, right? It's all made up math. We're applying real world physics to anime characters. But like, when someone is just showing you their work, like on their math problem to get the biggest number for this character, that's also enjoyable, and I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's just when that becomes the main focus, and nothing else matters except what class is this person, and that's where I really lose interest with it. But that's why to bring it back to Darwin's game, that's why I like the abilities in Darwin's game, because they're so creative and like everybody gets one unique to themselves. And like right when Kaname got his sigil, I was like, oh, dude, like the American in me went crazy. Like, this dude can just like teleport grenades into his hand, like a manifest grenades and manifest whatever like weapons that he's touched. Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? And like, so my mind just went crazy with like, oh, what cool situations could he get out of? Or like, oh, that'd be the perfect power for like a secret agent or somebody that had to go undercover. Those are the kind of powers that I really like, and that's why I want people to talk about this more, because like, that's cool. And the fact that everyone is let's just say like human level, like I don't think that's an actual power scaling term. Let's say that, or I guess there's like peak human, right? These people aren't even that.
the plant guy, he's probably like could destroy a large city.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I mean, but it's like he can still be defeated,
Right.
You know,
Right.
against normal humans, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, the power gap is small.
Yeah,
Like, there's him who could probably destroy a city, but then at the end of the day, he's still a human. He can buff himself, but he's still a human. It's kind of like quirks in My Hero, for example. Like some,
yeah, like and that's why that's why people joke and say like that. There's a reason My Hero takes place in Japan. There's not that many guns.
I mean, also like 90% of anime takes place in Japan.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, if it took place in like America, South America, or like North America, South America, some areas in the Middle East, like, it'd be a lot different. You know
Yeah,
what I mean, like, which wouldn't be bad necessarily. I would like to see a show where, and I swear I was just watching a video on one where like there are superpowers, but regular humans can join in and compete. You know what I mean? Because it almost feels like, oh, I could be a part of this. You know what I mean? Like, if I was in this, like, I can self-insert myself into it, and I'm like, as long as I got, like, a sword, I can damage these people. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually, like, my preferred level of power. Like, I mean, as, like, a One Piece creator, that's kind of crazy. People are, like, shaking tectonic plates and stuff.
I mean, but that's where One Piece started, was, like...
Yeah, One Piece, like, it started at the ground level, and like, I wish that there were that there were more series that stayed at that ground level, and
for longer, at least.
Yeah, but I like that about JoJo's too, is that like the powers are insane, but again, for the most part, these are just normal people. They can still be taken out. You know what I mean? If you want to defeat their stand, it's a whole nother thing.
Well,
but like some of them, like. Catch him with a knife, like, they're kind of out of luck.
I mean, Araki, I think, does some illicit substances and just, like, sits in his bathtub and just writes the stands. Like, the man...
I mean, if that's what you need to do to make it more interesting.
I mean, I feel like that's... Some of the JoJo stands, you're like, were you okay when you wrote this? Like, do you need help? Like, you all right? Like... Props on your creativity, but I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only in like halfway through part 5. So I know that I'm not even close to like the crazy ones. I have seen like video breakdowns of which, like, speaking of people not talking about older stuff, like JoJo's is like is there an anime older, like, starting from episode 1 or chapter 1, is there a series older than JoJo's that is as popular as JoJo's in the modern anime community?
I would probably lean towards no, but I try to avoid JoJo's because every time I talk about it, people get really upset. So I just don't. I just don't talk about it. So I don't like it. So okay, I'm phrasing it wrong. Part 1 and 2, I enjoyed. Part 3, I enjoyed the beginning, and I enjoyed the end. The entire middle section was very difficult for me to watch.
See, and the thing is that when Part 3 was airing for the first time, that was the consensus.
Right.
People didn't like that it became episodic. So, like, that's not an uncommon or even hot take. That's a pretty cold take.
Right. I think so, too. And then I've had a hard time watching Part 4, because I still have that taste of that huge chunk of Part 3 in my mouth, that it's kind of, it's better than Part 3, but it's still kind of episodic, and it just, I'm even past the episodic chunk where they show Kira and stuff, and like, okay, I'm starting to get the non-episodic stuff, but still, it's just like that taste is still there. So I dropped it for now, and I dropped it like 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago or something. And people don't. I think my explanation is sound, and it's very reasonable, and it's not inflammatory. But people react to it as like I'm saying that JoJo's is so bad that everyone that reads it has some sort of disability. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm just saying.
But that's what people take it as.
Yes, and it's like insane.
Punch their mom.
Yeah, it's like I didn't. Yeah,
Unprompted.
I didn't poop on your wedding cake. Relax.
Yeah. I mean, let's see, JoJo. Yeah, I mean, JoJo's Part 3. It's 48 episodes. I'd say at least like 2 cores of that is very episodic.
Yeah.
So like that's tough. I mean, JoJo's Part 4 is around that length. It's got 39 episodes.
I'm like 20 in, roughly.
You might as well just go finish it, man. It gets really once they introduce Kira, it just changes completely. It's and like that it becomes like that intellectual battle between them and him, and then the stands towards the end, like the stakes are crazy high, and they get really really wild. I'm trying to like talk around spoilers.
Understandable. I appreciate it. Like I enjoyed it, but I'm like, okay, I can either watch JoJo's or I can read any of the like 15-20 series that I am months behind on because I am a bad person.
I get that. I mean,
So
I
it's
just
like-
caught up on Boruto, and I'm behind. I mean, I think I'm only behind a chapter, but
If I
you've been telling me like, oh, dude, are you gonna do another reaction to this chapter? Because I hear something crazy happen that I'm not gonna mention in case anybody's not caught up.
I mean,
But
if
yeah,
I
like I'll get like super excited to catch up on something, and then like once I'm caught up, I tend to like drop the series. Like I don't understand why I do that, but like I'll just get distracted by something else, and then like 3 months later I'll realize like, oh, I've got a bunch of episodes to watch. I've got a bunch of chapters to read.
I mean, marathoning is my preferred consumption method for any series. Like for example, Darwin's Game, I watched the entire series last night.
Yeah, I didn't rewatch it for this. I like knew what I wanted to talk about. Like I wanted to talk about the sigils specifically because I thought they were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was going to be very short, but I wanted to have a little mini discussion about what genre we would put it in. And then like expectations for season 2 if there was one. And I do know that this is an adaptation of a manga, so I don't know. I know that the manga's at like
The manga is
19 chapters.
So I researched it, and on my anime list at least, a lot of people were kind of discussing like, hey, is the manga ending soon? And this was like a couple months ago, and they were saying it might have like, here, I can probably pull it up. When will it end? It was in May. Heard it's in the final arc, so I'm waiting for it to finish so I can start reading how many chapters are left. It is indeed in the final arc, but it's not confirmed how many chapters are left. Even if it ends in 3 to 4 chapters, that would be 4 to 5 months before it ends due to this being a monthly manga. So a lot of people are saying it's close to the end. It might end this year. So I'm hoping that when it ends, it'll be like a Fire Force situation where it ends and then the next season of the anime is kind of announced semi quickly afterwards. But the studio that's doing it is, I think, doing Eminence in Shadow season 2, so they might be busy with that. But Darwin's Game season 2 might be after Eminence in Shadow season 2, which I shout out to Eminence in Shadow, also really good. People should watch that. It's pretty good. 20 episodes. But that ends, or that's going to be airing. Season 2 of Eminence in Shadow is airing sometime later this year. I think it's not next season. I think it might be the season afterwards. And they might start production, because I think it's probably a smaller studio because they've only done like 10 things. So they might be only working on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So hopefully we might get an announcement for it this year. I think that is a reasonable time frame, I would say, potentially, if they want to do one.
That would be nice, because everything that I'm seeing is like people discussing if there's going to be a season 2, when is there going to be a season 2? Oh, no word from the studio, no word from anybody. Like people predicting with like absolutely zero evidence when they think the next season's going to come out, you know.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, you can just look up, like, so MAPPA is really hard because they do so much stuff, But there's a lot of studios that do like 1 or 2 series at a time. So like this one, for example, like they've only like Nexus is what it's called. They've only done a few things, and it looks like they only come out with maybe 1 to 2 anime a year, if that. So it's like, you can probably assume that if they're working on it, they might be in discussions to like sign on to do a season 2, but they're probably working on Eminence and Shadow season 2, and then maybe after that.
Yeah, I don't, with the way that the first season ended, like it ended on like all right, we're now established, like now we're, I don't know, the way that it ended. I remember when I first watched it. I told my wife, I was like, this could, like, because I didn't even know it had a manga, and I was like, this could end here, and it would be fine, but it feels like the story's not done. Like if not knowing that it came from a manga, I was like, oh, this was like a studio doing just like a one season, real short. They just wanted to show the main character. He goes through trials and tribulations, gathers a crew, and then establishes themselves. And it's like one of those hopeful endings. Like that's what I assumed it was. But then I found out there was so much more, and like I was like, yeah, no, what happens?
I mean, it ended on a little bit of a time skip there, because like the last battle ends, and then it's like, hey, you can't play this game in this area, otherwise only one of you is going to be surviving. So
yeah.
Hold on one sec. Okay. My buddy decided to come in here and be like, I found my glasses. I was like, did I need to know that right this second? He's like, no, but I wanted to tell you before I forgot. I'm like, all right, man, I appreciate the information. Thank you. Yeah, we he's the guy that I marathoned it with to like.
Oh, what did he think? Bring him in here.
I told him, hold on. Okay. I yelled at him. He's gonna be like, there's music. It's like, mute the music. I don't want to tell you.
So you just watched it, so it's fresh in your mind.
Yes.
What is your favorite sigil out of all of them in the series?
It's hard because I like a lot of them are really cool. I like the girl who's basically Spider-Man. The whole time I'm like, this is PS2 Spider-Man.
The Queen of Thorn.
Yes, I'm like,
yeah.
That one's cool. Honestly, my favorite might be Reigns is really cool. Just seeing like how everything is going to move.
Oh yeah.
It's
borderline like advanced observation.
Yeah, it's that, and the main characters are like the two that I think have the most adaptability and difference, which I did like how in the final battle they used Shuka, I think that's how you pronounce her name, that her like using the wires. I like how she didn't use her normal chains, she used something else, because her sigil allows her to move anything that's like wire or string like.
Yeah, what was interesting is that her power is actually based on like vibration. So she's like vibrating the things, or like vibrating the air around these things to make them move.
Is that I thought she could just control them. I thought in the final battle her phrasing was, the reason that they're cutting you is because I can vibrate them.
Yeah, so like from what I understand, I was like watching a little bit of a breakdown of her abilities, and I don't know if it was like in the anime or the manga that they were drawing from, but they were basically talking about how like she's able to vibrate these things to make them move, and she's able to vibrate the air around them to precisely control them. So that's what I'm basing that on, because my assumption when I watched it was she just has like whip powers.
Yes.
But she can turn anything flexible into a whip, basically.
So on my anime list, it says her sigil is a powerful telekinetic type that allows her to freely control any string-like object. But I'm going to risk spoilers and go on to the actual wiki to Queen of Thorns allows Shuka, I think that's pronunciation, to control wire-like objects ranging from chains to wires. She is also able to oscillate said objects at high speeds to use them to cut people. And then there's like spoiler stuff afterwards. So based on the wiki and my anime list, it looks like she's just actually vibrating them. It doesn't say anything about the air, unless I didn't, because it said after training in X area. I was like, well, I'm not going to be reading that. I don't know.
I mean, either way, it's sick.
Yeah.
Like, but I know when they were like, yeah, she can vibrate the air around it, and like that's how she's manipulating it. That made it like 100% more like complicated, because there's like so many anime powers that like, the character masters it and it becomes like subconscious to them. But when you really think about what they're doing to activate their power, it's like, oh, you gotta be thinking about like so much at the exact same time. Like if you like the way that wind powers work in anime, like when if they're like throwing a bullet off course or something like that, the fact that they're like doing all this math in their head at the same time, or even like in Naruto, like the way like precisely controlling their chakra, like with Naruto with the Rasengan, right? The fact that that's just not like when you think about what he's doing every time he activates it. So when I saw that video, it like immediately put Queen of Thorns like up on that level, but it's still cool. It's still cool even if she's just controlling, anything whip-like. I'm still into it.
So it's like interesting. Okay, we can interrogate Gravy now, and if he says anything wrong, I can just go sadly.
Yes.
Hold on, let me mute the TV.
Thank you. But I like series where the abilities are less. I just get stronger. I just get faster. It's like, I mean, that's cool. Like take Gear 2 for example. That's a fine power up, but it's not super creative. It's like, okay, like it is. And then Gear 3 is like, okay, it's interesting, but it's not quite as interesting as I would like. And then there's Gear 4, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm here for this. And then Gear 5 is like, well, all right.
What Gear 4 though?
You got me. I mean,
with Gear 4, Bound Man and Snake Man, I think like Snake Man, I would say is the more creative.
Correct.
Gear 3. Gear 3 is just Luffy being an idiot, right? He's like, if I make my fist bigger, I punch harder. Gear 4 is then it's a little bit of it's not that big of a deal, right? Like he just makes his muscles big and then hardens them. That's all it is. But with Gear 4 Snake Man, that's where he really gets creative, because that's where he's like doing the math to figure out like how do I need to bounce my arms around to be able to hit at different angles.
I mean,
kind of stuff like that.
I tend to believe that Luffy's doing no math and is just I like bounce fist.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's actually.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I'm like,
but like subconsciously, like the everything that goes into it, I think it's a lot more creative. Than
right.
The rest of them.
Right. It definitely.
Gear 2 was even like above his level in terms of, like he didn't understand how it worked. He was like, well, if my blood goes faster, like because my like headcanon of his thought process was like, all right, these guys are using shave, they're going crazy fast. How do I go faster? Well, when I'm fighting, my heart beats faster. So what if I make my heartbeat faster to make me fight faster? Like that's as far as I can guarantee that's as far as his thought process went into Gear 2.
Probably. I think that's fair. Like, I mean, Gear 4 is, man, these monsters, these animals, they're strong. Maybe if I do what they do, I'll be strong. It's like,
if I get big.
If snakes, they kind of attack from wherever. My arm kind of looks like a snake. Huh. If I stretch, it's like an actual snake. Interesting.
Well, and then even further into Gear 5, like, that's where he doesn't even have to think. It's just, I mean, spoilers, obviously. But, like, whatever he wants to do, it's just like, oh, if I was really big right now, I could jump rope this dragon. And it just happens. Or it's like,
the manga for One Piece, but I've seen the Gear 5, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's literally, I mean, Luffy describes it as, it's me when I'm at my most free, right? So it's like, whatever he wants to do, it just happens. And I've done videos kind of like diving into that, like showing his thought process and like all the gears leading up to it, and how basically every gear was him mimicking his awakening, but like through effort, right? Where like he's trying to fight freely, and he's like having to do things to get around it, right? So it's like, I want to move faster, so I have to pump my blood vessels.
Right.
I want to punch harder, so I have to inflate my fist. But now it's just like, I'm going to punch him really hard. And by the time he thinks that, his fist is the size of an island. You know what I mean?
It's like, I can do that.
I don't want to fall. I'm running on air. You know what I mean? I'm just going to spin my legs so fast that the air ignites. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like that's, but you can see how it's really interesting if you actually go back and like look at his gears, especially once he gets to Snake Man, where you can see like the clouds forming around him. Where like he was, I think the word I used was surface tension. So like he was getting closer and closer and closer, and like kind of reaching through the void into his awakening and like pulling a little bit out, and then finally like the surface tension breaks. He's above water. He's free. He can do whatever he wants. Ironically,
right?
Water, since that's his weakness. But like that's how I see it. Is like he was like pushing against the fact that he wasn't awakened until it finally happened, and
right,
just completely free.
And that's
I could talk about his awakening all day.
Fair.
I won't. We're supposed to be talking about that.
I mean, that sort of creativity is everyone who survives. Because you got to remember that the people playing Darwin's game, these aren't... The only person we see at like a starting level is the main character. Everyone else is like a...
The main character reminds me so much of Luffy, though.
Would you like to elaborate?
Just because he's like carefree and happy-go-lucky.
Doesn't like to kill his opponents.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, it's one of those like, I really don't want to kill you. If you make me, I will. But which like, you know, if we're honest, like if Luffy had to, he would. It's just that he would prefer not to.
Well, it's
like,
not that he prefer not to. It's like, you know, death is easy. You know what's more fun? Destroying everything you're fighting for, and that's a much more painful defeat. So I'm going to do that instead.
Like making you live in a world where your dream was broken, and you are no longer even on the path that you needed to be on to reach your dream.
Right.
That's like his whole philosophy. But like let's say like Luffy, let's say somebody had Nami like at gunpoint or something, and the only way to stop him was to kill him. Luffy would kill him. Like at that point, it's like I feel like his like love for Nami would be way more important to him than his interest in crushing their dream.
Yeah. Unless he thinks, oh, your dream is killing Nami, so we're gonna stop that.
So Gravy, what was your favorite ability out of the Sunset Ravens?
Or just in general.
Yeah, in the series.
The favorite signal or whatever.
Sigil.
Yeah, the sigil.
I like being able to spawn the weapon. That was pretty cool.
That was my favorite.
The ice and the water thing was interesting.
Well, that's two different sigils.
But that combo was really cool.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And I like how it was like, oh, how'd this happen? And then we find out that it's because they won a like special event, and she was able to wish him like her brother's soul back into her.
Yeah.
So it's like very interesting that, what's the level of power that this person can actually do.
And the girl with the chains. I'm not even gonna try to say her name.
Yeah, so that was Chuka.
Yeah, I think those. I mean, I wish that the Kaname's friend, the tubby guy, I wish we could have seen the full extent of what he could do. Because
I feel like that was a cool, had potential.
I did feel like it was interesting. It's like we saw a little bit of his telekinetic powers. I was like, okay, well, what can he do? And then it's like, oh, he can get all juicy in this box.
And Rain's ability is pretty cool too.
Yeah, that was LaPlace, where she can the future sight.
Yeah.
That one, that's, and we were talking about like powers that are make the characters think more, or make the characters have to be more creative as opposed to just a strict upgrade.
Mhm.
That is a perfect example of, like, if you're dumb and you get that as your sigil, it's of no use to you.
Right. I mean, even if we're talking about like someone super overpowered, the plant guy, who I did have to pause because I was like, I know this guy's voice. What else have I heard him in? He's Zeke from in Attack on Titan. He's also Kuzan in One Piece. So I was like, man,
He's paused it quite a few times.
Yeah, because I was like, he's also Dio. That's where I knew him from the most. It was Dio from JoJo's. I was like, oh.
Okay.
I was like, oh.
Man, he's got a bright career.
I mean, yeah, he's the man. Is in some very iconic characters. So I was like, oh, because he's got a very, I would say, unique voice. It has a very low.
He's got a voice of a One Piece character, and
sure enough, everyone voices at least one. It's kind of rite of passage. Yeah. I wish there was a tally of how many voiced characters, like voiced named characters, are in One Piece. I'd guess.
It's hard to find a list of how many characters there are in One Piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I found one a little while back, and it had like 800 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But that list was before Wano, and I think even before Whole Cake Island.
Oh, goodness.
Which added so many new characters to the series.
Yeah, so many.
Dude, Oda is just creating jobs. Like, just for voice actors. Like, if he didn't repeat any, like, that's 1,000 jobs, easy, that he created just in voicing his character.
Yeah. No idea what you just said, bud.
I like meeting the voice actors at conventions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I met Miley Flanagan recently. I met, and I'm awful with names. Miley Flanagan, I always remember.
No one cares about Naruto.
Excuse me. We're not going to have this concept. Let me see. I'm awful with these names. It's the same dude who voiced Reiner and Doflamingo.
Carlos Santana.
The English voice actor?
Yes.
Hold on, I have a screenshot of it because he's going to be at a convention.
Yeah, Gravy has the thing where he wants to get everyone to sign his
Robert
pops.
McCollum.
Yeah, Robert McCollum. Yeah. I hosted the panel that he did, the Attack on Titan panel, at WeebCon a month ago.
Macaulay Culkin?
McCollum. Or McCollum.
Macaulay Culkin? Home Alone?
But, yeah, he was super dope. If you haven't met him yet, he's really nice in person.
He's coming to a convention next month.
What, down in Florida?
Yeah. In Jackson.
Yeah, this was in Texas. out near, or I guess technically it's in Dallas. It was Dallas-Fort Worth area. Grapevine, Texas is where the convention was. But yeah, it was got to meet Aaron's voice actor, Reiner's voice actor, and then Mikas's voice actor was there too. And then for the JoJo's panel, it was a random assortment. It was like Joe Taro and Jolene, and like there was like people from part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, like even further on, like people that like I was trying to talk about the show with them, but they voiced characters that I haven't met yet, so it's a little bit tough to even discuss anything with them.
So you're in Texas?
No, but we flew down for the convention.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, we're up in PA.
He didn't fly down. He was invited as an esteemed guest. Don't let him lie to you.
Yeah, they treated us really well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they treated us like royalty while we were down there. And I had a discussion with Jeremy, who ran the convention, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "You got an invite, next year if you'll have us." And I was like, "All right, man. Yeah, I'll do it." My buddy's saving up so that he can fly down with us next time, so I think that'll be really cool.
Which convention was that?
WeebCon. The company that hosts it, if you want to look them up, is Wild West Weebs in Texas. They're like a brick and mortar store.
Gotcha. I think Seven was talking about wanting to go to that.
Well, he mentioned going to Texas. Gravy's like, you know what I love? Steaks and guns. I want to go to Texas. I want to feel at home.
I can't tell you, dude, the amount of couples that we saw there. That was just a dude dressed like a cowboy, and you could tell that was his normal clothes. And the girl, like his girlfriend or his wife, dressed up in like the most elaborate cosplay you've ever seen. And the dude's just like wearing his cowboy boots and jeans, and he's just there for moral support, basically.
Hey, whatever works.
Financial.
Dude, the one thing that did throw me off though was, and like I get it for the meme, right? But there was a handful of girls there that were like carrying signs to like "We'll step on you" for $5.
Yes.
The weirdest one though was the dudes that were like, "Here's $5," like the one dude like literally put his head on this convention floor in front of her and was like, "Here's $5, step on my head," and I was like, "All right, man. I mean, is it worth it?
I mean,
Just their foot. I got a hard head.
Dude, it was rough.
Gravy would pay $5 for that. I'm not gonna lie.
But I'm trying to get like all the One Piece voice actors autographs on Pops.
I thought you were gonna say to step on your head.
Yeah, I was like, but so
where are you going with that?
Gravy's really bad at what's called conversations. He has a separate like timeline of this conversation going on in his head that's like 5 minutes behind.
I mean, I get it. I have the opposite. Mine's 5 minutes ahead, and then something will distract me, and now I haven't listened to you, and I forgot what I was thinking.
It's okay. It's okay.
Brain damage.
I just have ADHD.
You can't say it so blase. You're like, I have brain damage. It's like, okay. Like, yes, but you got to explain it a little bit more. It's not...
It's all right. All right, Gravy, who was your favorite character out of the main cast?
Out of the main cast? Probably the girl. With the chains.
Okay. She was cool. The one thing I did find strange is where she was like immediately like after they were like on good terms, where she's like, "Let's start a family." Like they just skipped everything.
So
just like,
after the episode where she wakes up and like has brought the main character to her bed after he passes out, Gravy looks at me and goes, "It looks like I got another waifu." I'm like, all right, man, like whatever.
That's the one thing that I never did. Is I never had like waifus. Like when I was younger, like when I was like 12, 13, 14, like I had a crush on Hinata from Naruto. But that's about it. Like I never really I don't like have a waifu collection.
Gravy
I never did
has
anything about it either. I never bought a pillow, never bought any Hinata merch, I was just passively like, yeah, she's cute.
some figures that jiggle and have actual pantyhose on.
Oh, dude, I had to explain those to my wife when we were at the convention. She's like, why are some of these figures like so much more expensive? And I was like, I don't know if she brought it up or I brought it up, but I was like, yeah, those ones are more expensive because they're wearing real, they're wearing real
Pantyhose.
fishnets
Yeah.
that you can move around, and those ones are more expensive because their chest is squishy.
Yeah. Or
And she was like, oh my.
the figures that have like removable pieces and can turn into not safe for work versions of said figure.
Yeah.
Those are really expensive. People like to make.
How about all those ones that people were talking about? Like they had the Gojo one, and they had like Ace.
I think that
like
Aaron.
Ace tied up, like how. Who was it that was like tied up in the way that Zoro was in the beginning of One Piece?
Probably Ace. I would guess.
They had one that everybody was talking about for like a couple days, and it was Sanji cooking with no. Let's just say he wasn't wearing an apron, and the hot dog was in a bun. It was elaborate, and people were just like super hype about it. Like it was like I saw all these like female content creators that were like, "I'm getting this. I don't care what you guys say about me. I'm getting this, and I'm gonna have this on full display in my house."
It's very interesting that the men thirsting over 2D women and women thirsting over 2D men narrative are very different.
Yeah.
It is a very different. It's seen very differently.
Well, I mean, I've noticed when you look at the figures, like the ones that are like clearly made for men to buy are just like, let's put them in a bunny costume, or let's put them in like a bikini.
Yeah.
Let's not put them in anything,
Yeah.
And the ones that are clearly made for women to buy, or for people who are attracted to dudes to buy, are like, let's tie them up.
Yeah, let's hog tie them and hang them from the ceiling. It's like, okay,
yeah,
what?
There's a lot of risque art and stuff too at the conventions.
I saw some of that. Like a lot of it was just like, it was like Goku dressed in his like supreme puffy jacket and like Chi-Chi in like a cutoff tank top, with like much different proportions than she actually had in the series, like leaning over his shoulder, like that kind of stuff, or like kind of looking back at you in a bikini type pose. Like I saw stuff like that. I didn't see anything like that would have to be on a certain website.
I would say convention we went to, there was probably 2 or 3 booths that actively had sticky notes over certain areas of the drawn women. But there was a lot of like BDSM art, like a very large amount. Like there's always like a couple, but it was like a good chunk of like men being tied up, mainly men. I was like, oh, well, like to each their own. I just didn't expect there to be this much. It just seems like a disproportional amount of this sort of art.
Yeah, it seems like the stuff for the men is like, it's like the stuff for the women is like, I'm going to look at this and get excited, and the stuff for the men is like, I want to keep this guy in my basement.
Yeah,
like I own him. That's like really the vibe that comes off of those figures and the posters and stuff.
Yeah.
See, I have like
anything
8
too
posters coming out. All of my posters are just like cool poses, or like the promotional poster for the next season of a show or something like that. Very tame in my anime room.
I don't think I have anything remotely risque, as far as I'm aware.
I mean, I do have those stickers that I was given, the waifu cup.
Oh,
stickers.
I do have like 20 waifu cups behind me.
Yeah, you said that your fiance's into them, isn't she? They're like, what was her favorite drink? Was
titty milk.
What was it? Titty milk.
Titty milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say yours was?
I really like strawberry daiquiri is personally my favorite. But they just released one called Brand Risk. And then they also have one called Blowhole Blast, which is okay. Then there's Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000, which is really good. Would recommend that.
Guacamole Gamer.
9000.
It's wild to me. Like having that on your like debit card statement is so crazy.
There's one called Anime Girl Thigh, which is orange creamsicle.
Oh my, dude, this cup is called Nurse Joy.
Yeah.
Joy is it's not spelled with a Y.
Yep. I have that behind me.
Oh my god. See, I actually the sticker that they gave us, so one of my followers was working at the waifu cups,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were like, he was like, oh dude, like I got a couple things for you, and so he gave us a sticker pack, and he gave us 2 of these. They're kind of like patches, like the woven patches, but they're magnets on the back. And the one that was like the WeebCon 2023 exclusive, that one I think it has that girl from the Nurse Joy cups. It's like
I think so.
Dressed like WeebCon.
Fun fact: they almost killed me. This brand almost killed me.
Sent the Pinkertons?
No, like literally, I almost had an allergic reaction and died. So they have a snack, like a protein bar called Sus Snacks, which is like a Rice Krispie treat. So I was just eating it willy-nilly. Mind you, at work.
Yeah.
I read the back. I was like, oh, like this is really good. What's in it? So I'm like, how much protein, blah, 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 blah. And I see a warning label. I'm like, oh. And it says, the protein that it uses is cricket protein. And the warning is, if you have a shellfish allergy, don't eat this. Because it's very common for people with shellfish allergies to also be allergic to insects. Because they're very close, like allergically wise. I am very, very allergic to shrimp. So I was halfway through eating this at work. And then I ate the rest of it and thought to myself, if I die, I die. This tasted good.
That's a hell of a sales pitch. If I die, I die.
Yeah, I was like, so I work in a very, very large office building, and I was like, there's got to be someone with an EpiPen around here. So whatever, I'll risk it.
That's crazy.
I told my coworkers that, and they were very upset with me. Like, you should have told us. You know, if I die, I die. It's okay. It's all right.
Fill my position.
Yeah. Well, it actually would be probably pretty hard for them to do that. I can read. I had my evaluation last week. I got meets expectations. So, pretty hype about that. Meeting expectations. Yeah, my fiance says I don't. So, my job, at least I do that.
Story of my life.
Alright, I have to head out.
Gotcha.
Sounds like my son's going crazy downstairs. And I'm going to my first Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals since I was in high school.
Nice. Yeah. Oh,
So
before you go, I've had a couple people say that they are concerned about tomorrow's chapter discussion because it's Mother's Day. So would you like to do it, or would you like to just cancel it?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to postpone it. We'll do
Okay.
it. I still have to put my chapter review up for this one.
Yeah, I watch your account like a hawk. So if I'm ever like, yeah, I've been waiting for it. It's not like I'm a creepy person. Just wanna.
Well, no, I mean you handle all that stuff. Yeah, we'll postpone this one. There's no break next week, but we'll just do like a double discussion next week.
Okay. So I was like, I don't know if anyone's gonna be meeting for that. So
Yeah,
let's just
spend time with the moms.
Yeah, I have mine has a scheduled text already.
Oh, That's like pre-buying a pack of birthday cards and stuff, and just writing a name on it and mailing it out whenever you hear there's a birthday.
Yeah, I also got her a mug that says, "Good job, Mom. I turned out awesome."
Is your mom like mine, who would read that and be like, "Well, you didn't turn out that great"?
Mine will probably cry. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, my, she's real sentimental.
No, she doesn't. She just cries.
Uh,
It's not like this means a lot to me. It's like, you bought me a gift. You love me. I'm like, it's a $16 mug. Relax. Like,
Yeah.
it's all right.
yeah, I got my mom some. There's a spot near us that does it's like a really small family-owned thing that they do like apple cider and apple butter and all
Ooh.
different kinds of stuff. So it's like a basket filled with like that Easter grass that you put in like Easter
Is it-
baskets in it.
Is it Amish by any chance?
No,
Oh.
it's Pennsylvania Dutch, the family.
Okay, because Amish stuff is delicious.
Yeah, it's like culturally very different, but in terms of the quality, very similar.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a thing of like real natural honey. Then there was like apple butter and like strawberry jam and like stuff that's like all made by hand, on the same old machines I used to use, like the same presses and everything.
Sounds delicious. Well, Gravy
Yeah,
didn't
like
get anything for his mom.
That's all right. She's got you, Gravy.
He said, and I quote, "She has to earn my love."
I did not say that.
Maybe, maybe not. Who are they going to believe? Me or you?
She got to drive my car all weekend. She'll be okay.
All right, I do have to head out,
All right.
so I will talk to you guys later. Thank you to Chef Boyardee and Aunt Raj for showing up.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Thank you for Gravy for conversating.
And we are still very new, obviously, to this like live conversation thing. I'm still new. I've uploaded like 3,000 videos, and I'm still nervous when I talk to people live. So I don't live stream that much. But we'll get this figured out. We'll keep it more concise in the future, and we'll stick on topic. But thank you guys for being here with us during the growing pain era.
Yep.